7:47, July 24th. Yeah. So like I was saying, I misspoke in some video. First of all, I'm the victim of this technology. For 7 years, I've been being held hostage by these terrorists, and they threaten to murder me daily. Sometimes they use tech on my heart, which they could use to kill instantly. They can cause cardiac arrhythmia. They can cause myocardial infarction. They're also involved with this other form of murder called slow covert community systematized murder, where they slowly use various neurophysiological weapons to disrupt your brain. They use radiation weapons to destroy neurons and scar your cerebral cortex. They also use these various devices to cause cortical atrophy, such as their Syrian vascular clamps, where they will block up certain cerebral vasculature and cause ischemia to reduce blood flow to certain regions of the brain, and then cause atrophy, and cell death. But yeah, these kids are maniacs. They're mentally disturbed, armed with these weapons. They're desperate. They have a big time gambling debt. They were robbing people, manipulating bets. So they're desperate. They owe people large sums of money. They've also been stealing large sums of money that's mine, stealing intellectual property and data. They're committing economic espionage, copyright infringement. They've committed trillions in crimes over the past 7 years. So these guys are desperate and armed and dangerous. They're mentally disturbed. They have no respect for human life. They're involved with highly illegal, unethical, inhumane human experimentation. They probably haven't just robbed me. They've robbed other people. They're armed and dangerous, and they like to show up threatening people and threatening to murder you. And threatening to murder you and your family. They're supposedly these kids who make threats and show up threatening to kill people. I don't know if they're doing it via telepathy or showing up in person or both. They threaten to murder me via telepathy. No one ever shows up in person and threatens me. But supposedly they threaten other people. And they're always afraid of me seeing who they are, which is just odd. They go to other people in person, but no one wants to talk to me in person, which is very odd. That's a key piece of this. Everyone always avoids talking to me in person specifically. But supposedly they'll talk to my family and talk to other people covertly, and they don't want me present or want me to know who they are, which is weird. So that's a piece of this. But if these kids are threatening to murder you, kill you, etc., you should report them to law enforcement and inform them of their long-range weapons they use for slow, covert, community systematized murder. You should inform law enforcement about their covert slander tactics, how they'll contact your employer, contact your spouse, set up manufactured evidence, this and that, try to get you fired from your job. Tell them about their Syrian vascular clamps. Tell them about their implantable devices they'll use on your brain when you're at work to try to get you fired, or hire these telecommunications terrorists and hackers to disrupt the functioning of your computer at work to get you fired. They do things like that. They'll also chip away at your brain with neurosurgeries at night while you're sleeping with a neurosurgical satellite. They'll tell morons that it's a science tool and they're doing science, but they're really committing murder and damaging your brain. A lot of these guys like to make these brain maps of people's brains firing during certain activities and then destroy regions of the brain that fire when you're performing certain activities, such as activities at work. And then they'll watch your brain fire while you're doing activities at work. They'll see which regions are firing the most during specific moments at work or when you're doing processing, reason, creation, what have you. And then when you're sleeping at night, they'll look at these brain maps and start scarring the cerebral cortex and start killing neurons involved with those processes. So these are real life maniacs and real life terrorists. If they threaten you and show up to murder you, you should report to law enforcement and inform them of these threats. If they're not leaving, you should definitely consider using deadly force within the confines of the law, because these people are egomaniacs. They are crazy. They will kill you. If someone threatens you, you should be in fear of your life. They are maniacs. They cannot control themselves. They've demonstrated for 7 years that they're unfit to be in society. They have committed 1 billion years worth of crimes on me alone. They commit 100 crimes or more a day on me daily for 7 years now, in various forms, maybe more than 100 years a day, in various forms of assault with their implantable devices and neurophysiological weapons, heart shocking techs, genital shocking tech, and other tech. So these are things to consider. You should definitely ponder this, because remember, law enforcement, some of these guys are corrupt and involved with some of these terrorists, and they're not arresting them, and these guys should have been in prison years ago. And these kids can kill you at a touch of a button from a computer, long range. And for some reason, law enforcement is not understanding the threat of these people, which is just absolutely ridiculous. These guys, the fact that they even have access to such weaponry and access and possession of radiation dispersal devices, and they don't have a license and don't have a satellite license, they should already be in prison. So that should tell you whoever these law enforcement agents are investigating these guys, they don't know the law and they're mentally disturbed. Because, having access to these sorts of weapons, you have to have a license. They don't even have a license. They don't have a license to be an investigator. They don't have a satellite license, nothing. They don't even have a medical license. So the fact that law enforcement's not arresting these kids doing neurosurgeries, pretending they're scientists, and they don't have proper licensing, they're letting them carry around these neurophysiological weapons and they don't have licenses should tell you there's a lot of people in law enforcement who are mentally disturbed or have criminal negligence or they're involved with the terrorists. So keep that in mind. So, and these kids will kill you. There are threats to mankind, and they'll kill you if they don't get their way. They are like this army of spoiled brats who think they have the right to murder people if they don't get their way. This is key. And they are mentally disturbed, unfit to be in society, and they've demonstrated for 7 years that they're unable to control themselves without committing crime. They have an insatiable thirst for crime, sexual violence, sexual abuse, an insatiable thirst for mental abuse. They have an insatiable thirst for aggravated assault. They have an insatiable thirst for robbery and illegal gambling. So, yeah, if anything, report to law enforcement. Tell them to your best of ability what I've been saying. They will do these things. They are crazy, especially if you don't bend the knee or give them their way, because they are these weirdo maniac spoiled brats. And if they threaten you, you should be in fear of your life. Operate within the confines of the law.